This is a quick guide for session facilitators and supporters to better understand the Zoom Meetings product. Remember, this conference uses two different Zoom products, Zoom Meetings and Zoom Webinars, to run the different sessions. So before we continue, do make sure you've looked in the conference app and check to see which product your session is using. Is it Zoom Meeting or Zoom Webinar? Instructions for how to download the Event Central app for the conference, as well as a whole series of other information and help, is available on the ISPIM conference website under the Virtual Venue tab. Here you'll also find links to guidelines specifically written for session facilitators and supporters. So if you've installed the Event Central conference app and double-checked that your session is using Zoom Meeting, you've had a look at the general instructions on the Virtual Venue tab of the conference website, and you've read the instructions for session facilitators and supporters, which you're looking at right now, then we can get on with looking at the Zoom Meeting product. You'll access your session by clicking on the session link from within the Event Central conference app. The first screen you'll see will probably look a little bit like this, because the ISPIM back office will start the session for you. And that's the good news, because we'll have taken care of all of the passwords, logins, and settings for you. The ISPIM back office will start your session exactly 10 minutes before it's due to start, and it's critical you are there 10 minutes before the official session start time, because the ISPIM back office has to find you in the waiting room and promote you to be a participant in the meeting. It's important to remember that in Zoom Meeting there is a waiting room, whereas in Zoom Webinar there's no waiting room. This is one of the ways the two products differ. One thing is the same, that your session will be being recorded right from the very word go. To give the ISPIM back office the best possible chance of finding you in the waiting room, please ensure you've named yourself appropriately. And you can see that on the right-hand side of the screen here. Make sure you've used your first name, last name, organisation and country. You can think of this as your conference badge you would normally wear around your neck at a physical event. Therefore, as the session starts, I would encourage you to remind all participants of this fact. Now, it's very likely that the ISPIM back office will only have time to find the session supporter and promote them to be a participant in the meeting. As such, it's therefore the session supporter's job to find the session facilitator and the session presenters and admit them into the session before the session starts and is available to the audience. If you look at the right-hand window in the screen now, you'll see how you can admit somebody to be a participant in the meeting. Once you have your full complement of speakers, it'll probably look something like this screen. Don't forget that in the Zoom Meeting product, before you allow the remainder of the participants into the session, they won't be able to see what's going on. However, your setup is being recorded. Then, once your session is due to start according to the time in the program, you've got your presenters, everybody's ready with their presentations, you can invite all the remaining participants into the meeting. One critical thing to note is that participants who arrive late will always go directly into the waiting room and not the session. So the session supporter always needs to be on the lookout and continually admit latecomers into the session. Do start the session with a friendly introduction. We recommend you keep it quite short, but basically running through who the speakers are, what they're going to present, how you're going to take questions and answers, and how the audience can interact. We've written a suggested script which you can follow and adapt, and you can find that in the written instructions for facilitators and supporters on the event website via the Virtual Venue tab. So once your session is underway, you have your presenters invited into the session, and you've also invited everybody else from the waiting room. It's probably going to look something like this, with everybody's video and name shown on your screen. Let's run through the basic controls you'll need to run the session. There are also more advanced controls which you can explore in your own time, but let's just cover the basics here. If you look at the bottom of the screen, you'll see a set of icons. The most important ones in those are mute and stop video, which control your own microphone and camera. The participants icon, if you click that, then in the right-hand window on your screen, you'll be able to see who's in the waiting room and who's participating in the session. The chat icon, which is next to the polls icon, can be used to interact with participants. This is particularly useful if you are a lot of people in the session and using voice simply wouldn't work for this. Do remember, all participants who are not presenting or speaking should be on mute. You do have the ability to mute everybody in case people don't react to your verbal instructions. And of course, the speaker or presenter, it's up to them to share their slides from their desktop. That's it really. We've done most of the setup for you, so you don't need to change any settings. And with just a knowledge of these working controls, you should be fine to run your session. There's not much more to it really. Zoom meeting is pretty intuitive and you've probably used it before. You've plenty of time to practice, and one of the things we are doing, which is good practice for all virtual events, is conducting a dry run. This means you and your speakers and presenters or panelists will be able to access your session exactly 7 days before the real session would take place. You'll need to access the session through the Events Central Conference app and use the link in there. This gives you all time to play around with the technology for an hour or so, test your slides, discuss how the session will be run, and just check that everybody's comfortable and happy and knows what they're doing. Of course, some things may go wrong, but better that they go wrong during the dry run than the real thing. Anything that does go wrong, or if you have any questions or doubts, we're running a drop-in session every day at 1 o'clock Central European Time from Sunday the 31st of May through to Thursday 4th of June. So don't worry, we're here to help. Do come by. And finally, if there's anything else, don't hesitate to get in contact with admin@ispim.org. We're a team of people who are here ready to help you.